meeting of the Madison Board of Selectmen to order. It is Monday, December 23rd, 2024 at 4:30. And the first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the minutes from December 10th.
Two corrections on the, oops. Page 3, second paragraph from the bottom, about the tree removal invoice, the commission is willing to assist with any remaining funds instead of will. And then, top of, did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes, thank you.
Top of page 4, discussion of the health insurance premium increase and then dental insurance, and then when it says to increase employees' contribution to health premiums again, so should that say dental? For that third reference, the third paragraph? Instead of health, it should say dental. Okay. That's all I had.
Do I have a motion to approve as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the ever-waiting minutes from November 12th.
Not yet, next time. I swear. For the manifest, I had a question, Linda.
Sure.
Core logic,
Yes.
what is that?
Oh, it's a refund for a tax payment. It's the, sometimes the taxpayer and the
Oh,
and the
bank or
mortgage
something.
pay,
Yeah.
and so Mike has to send back one or the other, and yeah, that's who that is, Core Logic.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All right, manifest December 23rd through the 30th. Payroll, $43,793.36. Payroll liability is $14,207.24. Accounts payable, $51,893.79. $200,000 to the Madison Elementary School. New Hampshire Retirement System, $15,758.52. And Village District taxes, $379,329 for a total of $704,981.91.
I'll make a motion to accept the manifest.
All second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comment. Donna?
Hi, good evening. Donna Vayu. Any update on the status of the town well?
Well, the status is that I went on the DES website and identified 5 different wells that are on the complex. One is for sure the one behind the library. Then we have a referenced Doug well, which I'm guessing is the one out front of Town Hall. Then 3 other drilled wells that I'm just trying to make sure I'm referencing the right wells and systems. First of all, I'm referencing the right ones in terms of public water supplies and not. And second of all, to make sure that we're including in scope of our site investigation any and all wells as appropriate. So I only just compiled the full list today, shot it off to Linda, she already looked at it, and said that Mike probably has the information on them.
There are 5 wells?
He
Yeah.
just knows. Well, there's one behind the library.
Yep.
There's one out front here. There's 2 behind the backstop, and then there's the newest one that we drilled where the shed is.
That's 5.
Those are the 5 of them, but I don't know which is which on that list, is what I was trying to say.
Okay, so we have the Doug well, that's the one out in front of Town Hall along,
See, I don't know. That's,
on Main Street in Madison.
I know, I don't know.
Yeah, 1985, it was a Doug well. It just says Main Street in Madison, use is commercial.
There's 3 dug wells.
DES only has one registered.
There's 2 behind the backstop, 1 in front of the town hall. There's 2 drilled wells, 1 up by the shed and 1 behind the library. 3 dug wells, 2 drilled. I can point them all out. But the question at hand is this well here at the town hall considered a public water supply?
Right.
Did we get that answer?
We do not have an answer because I'm trying to make sure I've identified the correct wells. Because according to this, we have 4 drilled and 1 dug.
I only know of 2 drilled wells.
That's why I'm trying to reconcile before I make too many phone
Well,
calls.
the well in question is the one behind the library. That's the one that started this whole fiasco, and that's the one we want to know if it's a public water supply or not.
Yep, and I also just want to make sure I understand what the other wells are and are we using them?
Okay.
How do we find that out?
These 2 dug wells are not used for anything. They haven't been for a very long time.
Those are the ones
used it for a short-
1985, 1996, or 2016.
That I'm not sure. But the 2 behind the backstop, we used it for a short period of time during summer camp, and then we stopped and went back to the drilled well up top once we got longer hoses, because we were having problems with this pump down here anyway.
So we do have a well referenced unknown in Village Road, drilled in 2016 by Tasker, listed as a municipal well and was also listed as a public water supply, now considered an inactive public water supply.
And that would be the drilled well up by the shed. It's the one we stopped testing because of the expenses of the cost to test, because we don't use it for anything at the time other than the garden club.
And we used to have the water bubbler on it, but someone tore it off.
Right. And
So-
when we tore the water bubbler off and posted it as not for drinking, we stopped testing it.
So then another one of these wells is the one behind the backstop.
There's 2 behind that.
There's 2 behind the backstop, 2 dug wells.
I only have 1 dug. So we have the drilled up by the shed, drilled behind the library, and then a drilled in 1996 municipal use, Madison Town Hall. And then another Town of Madison, 1985 drilled well by Hartley Drilling. Use was not specified.
Is it possible that we're using all these wells?
We're not.
Huh?
The only one that feeds any municipal buildings is the one behind the library. All of the other wells just feed garden watering systems.
So we don't have the answer to my question yet.
Doesn't sound like it. Any other public comment? Bill?
Yeah, hi. Good evening, Bill Lester. Might as well address the elephant in the room. It's been about 6 days, 5 days since the ruling came down, and just wondering where the town stands on that, whether they've consulted their town council, both councilors, and what the recommendations are, if there are any, if it's too soon, or any direction on which way the town's gonna go.
This board has not consulted council yet. I don't know what the ZBA has done. I think it is definitely too soon to decide what's going to be done about it, but any action would have to come from the ZBA, is my understanding at this point. But I think that ruling went exactly how it was always gonna go, based on the case that was put in front of the court.
Yeah, I think that you're a bit of a deadline, because I think it has to be 30 days, a 30-day appeal. Kind of a bummer getting it on the 18th.
Right. Just before Christmas.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you.
Yep. Mike, you got anything back there?
No, I'm just listening. I'm all for getting it right about the water. You know, people's lives are at stake, and I think we need to get it right. Thank you, Joy, for pursuing that.
All right. Discussion items, new business. Doesn't look like we have a member of the Veteran Service Committee here to talk about that warrant article. I don't necessarily have an issue with it, but I definitely want to hear the explanation behind it from a member of the committee. Can you just shoot Sharon an email and have her send somebody to the next meeting.
Sure.
Thank you.
If I'm reading it correctly, it's basically asking us to adopt a newer RSA for the veterans tax credit that allows all eligible veterans to receive the tax credit regardless of their dates of service, as opposed to having to be a wartime or meet criteria for being a wartime service veteran. It's
Correct.
the gist of it.
Yeah. I think some of the numbers may be off as far as who's getting the credit now and what the increase is going to be and that sort of thing.
Well, I think there was an estimate given in here and reading it, that there'd probably be about another 30 veterans that would qualify.
But I don't, so my understanding is that we don't actually have 300 veterans who receive the tax credit right now. What was it, 100 and
140-ish.
104? There's only about 140 right now.
Yep.
So it'd probably be 14 or 15 then.
But potentially there are 300 veterans in town that could be eligible.
So the
That's where the
increase,
300 number, so it would,
yeah,
Okay.
the increase could be closer to 100% as opposed to 10%. Not that I'm against it, I just want accurate numbers. And the other thing I would want to do is make sure the wording of that is okay.
I believe
Well-
there's just boilerplate language from DRA on that particular
Okay.
one. If you guys would put it up.
Well, I would think that we should have someone from the, who's putting this up, give us a little more background on it. I'm certainly not against it, I'm a veteran myself. And I can see where they're coming from. If you served in the military on any date at all, you're a veteran.
Yeah, I ran into it a few times at Old Home Week. There was a few people asking Sharon about the credit who served in the Korean War era that weren't eligible because those years don't fall within the criteria for the tax credit.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely want to hear from them, and I want to make sure that DRA, we get the correct wording from DRA.
Question. Did the committee comment on this or just a member of the committee? Is this a recommendation from the committee?
There's no reference to any of the committee's meetings. It came from a member of the committee, and they were supposed to send a representative.
So we don't know if the Veterans Committee is recommending this or?
It says- It says that please place the item on the agenda for the Veteran Services Committee. The committee is proposing a warrant article. So we don't, like Adam said, we don't have a copy of notes, but it sounds like it's coming from the committee.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a copy of minutes saying that they all approved it, but that would be my guess. You know, there's only a few of them. Right. So we just send the email to Sharon asking somebody to show up at the next one. All right, Mr. Dempster, you're up.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bill Dempster. Do you want to stand?
I'm good if the camera's good.
Yeah, thanks. I've been under a truck all day, so.
You're good.
I'm here presenting to you today, and I think I sent you a packet of just some basic items, because this is fairly new. I had brought this forward to the Budget Committee meeting last week, and a couple members on the board, including Selectperson Grace, thought maybe it might be a good idea to bring it to you guys. Hope you've had a chance to read it. Basically, I started looking at ways of either generating more revenue, different angles on how to generate more revenue, and said, well, instead of doing that, I'm going to look for ways to maybe look at curbing expenditures. So I found, interestingly enough, last week, Senate Bill 383, which is a local tax cap. It passed the New Hampshire legislature in May of '24, signed by the governor in June '24, and it went into effect as an RSA on October 1st, 2024. And basically what it allows is that there are two methodologies for a local tax cap, almost a fixed percentage or almost a fixed dollar amount. This one does something a little different, which I think, after reading it several times, is a little more equitable way of looking at budgets. And that is, it's a multiplication factor, which takes into account annual inflation rates from year to year. It also takes into account the growth of the town population, or if you want to apply this toward a school budget, it takes into account the number of students increase or decrease on a yearly basis. So it gives you an idea of how to take into account inflation. Typically, the inflation right now, the index is running about 2.5 to 2.7%. And you're also looking at the school, whether the population of the school goes up, the town population goes up or down. It certainly makes sense. If the population is going to go up, you would think your taxes would go up. It can be applied to the overall town budget, which also includes warrant articles. It can also be used to apply to the school budget. And so I started looking around and researching if towns are starting to take a look at this, and there are. We have our town meetings in March. There are some towns down south that are a little later, April and June, so they have a little more time than we have here. And they're looking at applying it to the school budget, where they take the dollar amount per student and use the multiplication factor to come out at the end with a potential increase, which is a tax cap no greater than. The only way this can be put in place is it has to be adopted by the legislative body of the town at town meeting. And it's got to be a supermajority, 3/5. The beauty of it is that it allows for a override at town meeting. So if there are items, so for example, this is just an example, did a budget, applied this to this year's budget, it came out with, could only do X. And for next year, for example, we have to have that $2 million for that. Like, if it didn't fit into that calculated budget cap, tax cap. The legislative body at town meeting can vote to override that tax cap on an item by item basis. So what it does is it puts instead of having the elected official, the onus on them to start to control this, it sort of pushes it back where I think it really should be, and that's a legislative body. The town should decide, the town people should decide where that should go. I don't think this year it can be done. It's just not enough time. I mean, if I had found about this maybe 3 or 4 months ago, probably could have done something for this year. I'm looking, unless you have an idea of, you want to try to go for it, but I don't think that's possible. Too far into budget season right now. It's too far gone. So I think next year would probably be a good way to do it. I was asked by the chair of the budget committee if I would be involved with this. I said, yeah, I'll volunteer to help with this. What I'm looking to do is potentially to get a committee together, take a hard look at this. It doesn't make sense, but I think it's a more equitable way to look at keeping our budgets realistic. I think the school budget was going up like, I remember, and Joey, you can correct me, I think it was like 4-something%, over 4%. Somewhere in that neighborhood. A lot of people, even with raises, are getting 2% raise, or I think on my Social Security, I think it went up 2%, with everything else going up. So I think it's a way to look at this and kind of keep it a reasonable, equitable way to balance off the town and the school budgets with what the town can afford. I just wanted to present this to you, get your ideas on it, and if it seems like a viable way to go, I'd look to pursue it.
I always want to see the numbers, like even sample numbers. I always want to see formulas. I always want to see the spreadsheet. I want to, what is the impact? What does that actually concrete look like for the town of Madison, even if it's not the exact numbers, high scenario, middle scenario, low scenario. So that's what will help me wrap my head around it. Because there's a
lot. I
lot.
think the same way you do. I started to play around with numbers.
Yeah.
What I ended up doing was looking at approved budgets from the town meeting, the town reports, and start to look at those numbers and then apply the multiplication factor. the hard part is trying to, right now, and I may be so new, they're trying to get the population numbers. You know, if they're in fact, if the town went up, would it have an effect if the town went up 50 people versus 45? No, probably not. But if it went up to 400 people, yeah, then I think you'd probably see a difference.
Mike, you have a
Just a
question?
thought along that, not directing it in any way, but I really think the school board should be involved in the process and be a part of the process. I realize that the majority of the money in town goes to the school district. I heard on NPR on the way in that, I think it was Kearsarge, they did something similar, maybe totally different, but they're gonna have to decrease their staff by something on the order of 20 teachers and the impact on that education. So I think anything you move forward, I think you want to have the select board and the school board involved in the process and weigh in.
If I understand this correctly, we would have to adopt it separately.
Yes.
So that the town would adopt it for the town. The school has their version of the public hearing, and I think that they would have to adopt it separately.
You would. Now, whether it goes before the legislative body, the town residents who vote on it, or whether it just goes before the deliberative session, I haven't got that deep into it yet. I placed a call, actually it was an email into the New Hampshire Municipal Association, because they said if you're interested in following this, give us a call and we can probably help you out, move you along. So that's what I've done. Of course, it's the holidays, our own year, so until late January.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look into it tomorrow or the next day, but
No.
Alls I know is, having lived in Massachusetts for a good chunk of my life before I came here, they've got a tax cap statewide.
2.5%.
They override it consistently. Every year they have a tax cap.
Yeah, I spent my early years living in Nashua. They had a 2% cut, 2% tax cap. Went into effect the late 90s. And I think 2 years ago was the first time that they overrode it for the new arts center they put in. Music and Arts Center on Main Street. So,
It'd be worth looking at. Certainly.
yeah, it's definitely worth looking at. But like you said, off the top, but I don't know if it would put too much constraint in certain
There's certain things
scenarios.
at the school that you know, special ed, you can't even touch that,
Right.
which
It
is,
would definitely be harder for the school than it would be for
yeah.
this board, but
And the school's looking to move out of SB2. Does that have any bearing or impact?
I don't
On
think
this?
so. Not from what I've read.
I think we all agree it's definitely worth pursuing, but it's just a matter of, again, I want to play with numbers and, see formulas and kind of see what the impact would be. What does it mean, in practicality? So, in theory, sounds good. In practicality, what does that look like for the town of Madison?
Yeah, I think it's in RSA, I think what I gave you was 32.5B. Under 32.5C. It gives you the process and procedures on what to do and how to word the warrant article, but it also talks about you need to have a 15 days prior to going, you have to have a public meeting and let everybody know what's happening and how it's used. So I could envision this, if it does start rolling along, to have meetings to inform the public at different intervals during the year. So everybody knows when they go into the town meeting, whether they have the information for them to make a logical decision, yes or no.
So, do you have the time or inclination to look at 32.5B 1 or Roman numeral, whatever the part is with the formula? Roman numeral or IBA with the actual formula in it? Do you have time or inclination to kind of toss some numbers in so we can wrap our heads around it?
Yeah, I've already run spreadsheets on
Of course you have.
it. Even though I'm retired, I'll have it die hard. Yeah, and I do have in those formulations.
Would you be able to just share like a summary or just share like a,
the numbers, it was coming in, depending on the population and what I was looking at, and the numbers I came up with. One year it came up with and it's based on prior year, so it's prior year times these multiplication factors. Some of the years were coming in at 2, 2.5. A couple of them came in at 4. You know, it's a tax cap. Doesn't mean you have to go up to that.
Yeah.
So it seemed to work. What I was having is struggling with was getting the CPI was fine, municipal cost index was fine. It was the population. And they give you they actually give you where to go. And some of those numbers were forecast, projected. So I'm going to take another look at this.
Linda, what's the town's best resource to identify number of residents at any given moment?
Census is usually what we.
Just every 10 years?
Yeah, for a solid number, but that community, I can't think of it. There is a website that, it's in the town report, I think, that kind of
Okay. talks
about the different, when the town was incorporated, and they come up with a number of how many people are here. I don't know where they get that number, but.
Thank you. All right, so we can look in the town report.
Yeah, I think there's I can't
Right
think of
now,
this
we're at
community something.
2711. Sound about right?
Seems really high.
That's the number I picked up from the webpage that was given as a resource.
It makes sense with, what do we have, 2,150 registered voters at the end of the day at the voting booth? Started with 1,900.
Last time, I want to say 2020, we were at 2650. We've had a lot of people move in the last 4 years.
But I think it's at least 2,100 registered voters, I think.
So,
You know, of course.
How
I
does it
didn't
take into effect seasonal tourists?
Seasonal tourist,
Yeah, how does that work?
I think it just takes, the way it's written, it takes into effect full-timers. It only looks at full-time residents.
But I think there would be an impact, well, I don't think, I know there's an impact on seasonal people for the town. I mean,
I didn't see
I'm sure the
anything.
chief can tell you some of that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything, John, in the legislation.
Yeah. Second homeowners wouldn't factor into that calculation,
It has to be. I mean,
which is a big
I
portion.
just tell you from the transfer station,
Yeah.
the difference between January and July is huge. And that has impact on the town to a degree. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean,
I didn't get into the semantics of how they derived to the equation. There are some meeting notes from the legislature that probably explains that. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I mean, I only found it, last
yeah.
Tuesday.
It's certainly worth looking into.
Do you want to do some more digging and come back?
Yeah, I can do that. Probably, I'm going in for getting my knees replaced.
So you have plenty of time to sit up with a laptop.
Too many hours spent at the hockey rink. And so there's a little bit of time there I can take a look at it. I'll probably have to make some phone calls. I might even contact the folks that were sponsors of the bill and get a hold of their office and see. I mean, to me, I think it's inequitable, rather than just say no more than 2.5% or no more than $10,000 over the prior year's budget. It kind of takes into effect, account the fluctuations in inflation. And I think it'd be a little more palatable to the taxpayers in town.
Our year-over-year increases, they tend to be 3.5%-ish?
Roughly.
Yeah. So we'd have to trim the fat by 1%.
Depending on how that population factors into it.
Yeah, I think probably what I was foreseeing doing is looking at 5 years ago up to now. That way you would have population, you wouldn't have to project out and get numbers there and just see how the numbers play out. That would be the best thing.
All right, I'll try to do some too.
Yeah,
Compare notes,
well,
see if we can.
yeah, you probably have all the budget numbers. I'm just gonna look at town reports and what was approved.
That's all I do. because they're really, really a lot of good information in there.
Okay, well, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bill. All right, budget and warrant.
I did make a couple of tiny changes.
Yep.
I took $500 out of the line for the
Conservation
Hazardous
Commission.
Waste Day.
For the what?
Hazardous Waste Day.
Yep.
We went from 3,000 to 2,500. On general government equipment, I took $2,000 out of that because my computer died 2 weeks ago and I had to get a new computer, so we're paying it out of this year's budget. So that was one of the new desktops that we were gonna buy, so I took that out of there. They were minor, like $4,000 altogether, around. There was another two, no. It was $2,000 out of the MAD TV budget. They brought theirs down by 2,000. They went from 50,800 to 48,800. That was the other change. So it was $2,500 altogether. That we took out of that. Like I said, it was minor, but they are changes.
So, this 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that I wanted to touch on specifically.
The operating budget or the warrant?
The operating budget. Just looking at budget lines that still have amounts remaining to spend but are looking to increase.
What do you
So
got?
either get an explanation or not increase, one or the other. So to start off with the Conservation Commission. They have $800 remaining to spend, but they want to increase their budget by $665. And I don't know that I saw a viable explanation for it. It was, they're digitizing the property records for $500, but they didn't spend all of their money out of their other lines this year regardless. So I don't see a need for the increase. It's only $665, but if I'm gonna look at lines, I'm gonna look at them all.
So the water quality testing is going up $165 because Green Mountain Conservation increased their fee 10%. So that's part
Yep.
of that increase.
Well, that's the full increase, the $665. However, where is, you didn't spend, or not you, they didn't spend all of their money out of any of the other lines. Supplies line still has $480 left to spend. Postage line still has 50, Old Home Week still has 50, membership still at 50, administration is 140, 84. So rather than increase it by $665, we just flatline the budget and spend that money. I know we're talking about $665 here on a $4 million budget, but that was the first one. The other one I wanted to talk about was the general government buildings. I don't see. Looks like we have a significant chunk of change left to spend on the fuel line. Is that something we think we can reduce? I know it goes to a lot of different places and they're not all here. But there's 30,000.
I think it's $10,000.
That was my thought. Right around $10,000 we can pull from that fuel line because we have $30,000 left right now.
Because I don't imagine fuel, I could be wrong, but I think fuel's gonna actually come down in price. Just a gut feeling.
And we might have a little bit to still pay a bill for December, whatever we got, so. Not to the tune of $30,000.
Right. So are we all on board with taking 10,000 out of that line?
I'm on board with that.
Yep.
Good. My other question is the town projects line.
Yeah, I'm asking you to encumber $8,600 for the town floor upstairs.
Yep.
So that would bring you pretty close to spending the whole 30.
Yep.
So do you wanna cut that by how much?
Well, I'm just wondering, do we have, once we do that, we have the front porch and the sign that are listed on here, are those the only ones we have?
Front porch, this porch, excuse me, and the sign.
This is the only two we have right now that we know of. Obviously, things come up throughout the year, and that's kind of a,
I know, it's kind of.
it's that line.
Yeah.
We had put a bunch in the CIP under town projects just to try to plan them as well. We can look at that and see if they would, what, if you want to cap it at 30 and then just what would fit this year within the town projects.
Actually, though, we're
The
gonna
flooring
get.
you're gonna get done based on this year. Is that
Yes,
correct?
we're gonna.
Encumber.
Yeah, asking you to. And actually, $2,700 is gonna go back into that line because we paid for the trees that we're getting reimbursed from
Conservation.
conservation. So you might be able to, wouldn't take much more than 4,000 or 5,000.
So do we take 5,000 out of the town projects line?
What's the plan for the front porch?
We don't have any plans, we just know it needs attention.
Coat of paint might do it.
I know some of the boards are soft.
2 coats. How many you want to cut off of that?
5.
I'm good with that.
Well, I guess we didn't finish the discussion on the Conservation Commission line. I'd like to knock that 665 out of there and level fund their budget. Calling the bad guy, but they didn't spend all this year's, and I think they can get it done within what they have.
How much?
Just the $665 level funded from what they had last year.
I'm okay with that.
So I think, I don't speak for the commission, but I think the digitizing property records is so significant a project that the $500 isn't even gonna touch it, if I understand the scope of what's being discussed.
So why don't we have an accurate number, do you know?
I don't know. I know Kate and I have talked about it sometimes. It's a massive undertaking. Because they're looking to, take, even like, if I understand correctly, Linda, I don't know if, I'm just trying to talk to you about it, but like you take like a handwritten deed, sort of, just like a handwritten deed, scan it and hope that it gets read, so that you can now actually like search the text. And if I'm understanding that correctly, that there's a lot of documentation that's, they're hoping to do that with. Some of it is typed, some of it is handwritten.
Are they looking to outsource this?
We wouldn't have the capability in-house to do it right now.
It sounds like it would need to be a warrant article anyway, if it's that much of an undertaking.
We can ask for Kate's feedback and see if I have that correct.
So
Tentatively, I would endorse cutting that.
Cutting that 665 for now?
Yeah.
Do they at least get to keep the 165 to account for the fee increase for the water testing?
Not in my mind. They didn't spend all their money elsewhere. That's kind of the logic that I'm looking at. All right. This one's a touchy subject, but our legal line, I know we already cut 2,000 from it.
sorry, can we go back, are we taking
Yep.
the 665 out of conservation?
Yes. John and I were on board with it. It didn't sound like Joy was, if you want to cut that.
I don't have an opinion either way. I just want to get their input.
You never know what we're gonna need for legal money, but we also still have $12,000 left in our legal fund that we haven't spent.
In the STR fund?
No, just our regular legal line.
John had mentioned something about having the easement done under that. Instead of, it was
Some
thought.
separate one.
What's that?
You had mentioned at one of the meetings doing the easement for the Conservation Commission out of the legal line,
Yeah,
as opposed to putting it up as a warrant article amount, just saying. And that was estimated at 3,000.
I'm coming at everybody. I'd like to take another 2,000 out of that line. Anybody have any thoughts?
yeah, I'm good with that.
Not bad with that.
And I'm gonna walk on some glass here for a second. The library line. We wanna increase it by $12,000, but they have 9,500 remaining to spend this year. Somebody tell me what I'm missing.
That 9,000, that's through this last pay period? Is it?
Yes, yeah, all the payroll is done through the year. Anything else now would just be remaining bills that'll be coming out.
So they probably have another Eversource bill then coming possibly. I'm guessing a portion of that is library assistance.
She actually just got 2 assistants.
Yep. I know there's.
That's a fair amount on that electric bill.
Yeah, I can't see spending another.
$2,000 and they only got one, they might have 1 month left.
Right.
I mean, that,
Yeah, they did switch over to that new program, and I don't know if they switched over prior to the end of the year, and it's been in effect, which is why they're already saving money and asking for less next year already.
Good new
that
program.
just seems like a very high electric bill. $4,000. Place isn't open that often. I mean, in comparison to a household,
Right.
it just doesn't make sense.
The electric heat.
I mean, well, I don't think, unless
No,
it,
it's propane.
that's propane. I imagine all water is too.
I know it's a lot, always a touchy subject, but I'd like to see that line cut by $1,500.
What, the bottom line or?
Bottom line. I'm not gonna tell them where to take it. I would assume it would come out of the electricity line based on what's there.
I mean, the electric bill in my house is about $1,500 a year. That's a house. With people in it all the time. And TVs all going. Unless they have some equipment, computers don't draw that much, do they?
Depends on the computer, but ideally no.
I wouldn't think so. I don't know, yeah, I would go with that, and if, we can always make an adjustment if we have to.
So ask them to take $1,500.
Yeah. My assumption is that it can come from the Eversource line. Those are the only ones I caught recently in the operating budget. It's not a lot, but it's something.
Yeah, it's not gonna move the needle much, but,
What are we talking, 10, 12, maybe 15,000? It's not gonna. You get us close to that 2.7%. You guys have anything on the operating budget you'd like to look at?
yeah, I went through it, I didn't see a terrible lot, I mean, I saw some of the same stuff you did, but
Joy?
it's in the warrant articles, that's where the
That's what I
budget
was gonna
increase is.
say.
I mean, the operating budget's up before these cuts were up only 3.2%. A little off of
With
the
that,
inflation rate.
what we just did will be closer to 2.8%.
Well, that puts us in line with inflationary. It's the warrant articles that are killers. And we got some big hits in here, and some of them we can't walk away from.
Well, do you want my honest opinion? I think we walk away from the dam this year.
This year is only a study.
Yeah, and it's a $166,000 study.
Yep.
For-
And I'd like to see again, if somehow we can roll some of that up into the watershed management study, which is already $100,000 is going to be wiped clean, except for the interest.
Mhm.
I don't know how much they can incorporate studying the dam into the watershed management.
Well, there was some discussion over the dam, a number of different discussions, and I saw a lack of urgency in getting it done. To me, maybe I was interpreting it improperly, but it didn't seem like there was like I said, drop dead, next year we gotta get it done, or 2 years we gotta get it done. It seemed to me that it needs some work, it needs to be redone, but you got some time. And I believe that came with a conversation with Mr. Bergeron.
He said we do have some time and a failure would not be catastrophic. It wouldn't damage people. It would lower the lake 8 feet. And that's where the damage was. The runoff would be managed. So we're just talking about if it fails, lower 8 feet. So a resident has been doing a ton of research, reaching out to people, finding out if there were grants available and who owns the dam versus who owns the lake and all this other stuff. And the town of Madison very much owns the dam, but they were also looking into what a new dam would cost. That if you built one next to the dam, built a brand new one, that it would supposedly, in their research thus far, be cheaper than the $2 million we'd be spending to replace the other one, or to repair and replace that one. So we may have other options, you know, whether or not we want to pursue them right now with a warrant article or outside of a warrant article, obviously up for discussion. I just want to make sure that we're not kicking a very big expensive can down the road, as opposed to setting some aside now and some aside next year and some aside the year after that.
Well, in going through the warrant articles, I looked to cut $66,000 out of that, put $100,000 away. But it looked like, based on the report, it was between $600,000 and $800,000 to do it. That was the report that was done a year ago, over a year ago.
A report on the dam?
Yeah.
The original estimate on repairing the dam before we had the study done was somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 to $1 million.
What happened?
I don't know. That I don't know. I think that we don't do the study this year and we take $100,000 out of that line and put 66 in there and talk about doing the study in 2026.
So cut that line from 166 to 66?
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And talk about doing the study in 2026 after we have this year, next year, and then 2026 town meeting to put the rest of the money away.
It would also open up the conversation at town meeting.
Yeah.
So part of the set aside money now, part of it for the study and can fund the rest of it in 2026. So between the 2 years coming up to that 166, spreading that out over 2 years.
Yeah.
And then the dam not being 2 million next year, but a little bit more money aside year after that. That
So-
makes sense?
66 is what we're planning on?
66.
We're cutting or we're leaving?
Leaving.
Leaving, cutting 100
66.
grand. I mean, warrant article 10, highway heavy equipment. Expendable trust fund, it's at 20,000.
That's where you gotta look at the CIP and see what's gonna break next, and how much do we need to have set aside to pay for it.
I always hate to cut those. But, do we have a copy of the CIP? No. It's all right.
I mean, the other big place there is a paving, you know, we've already cut that 100 grand.
So, the library door is a steady number. That's based on a quote, right?
Yes, it's a solid $15,000 for the door, and then the estimated rest of it would be for electrical and that kind of thing.
Okay. 2,500 is a solid number. ETS, the assessing, we're not gonna touch.
The transfer station has how much from a balance?
38,000.
We can usually cut, we could cut 5 grand off of that.
I'm good with that. So, number 11,
Because we have no plans right now for, but keep in mind, I don't know if it's on the CIP, that place needs to be paved sometime in the next couple of years.
Yep.
The pavement is all, we got some cracks in the pavement that wide.
Yeah.
well, if we have, I can't imagine it's gonna cost you more than $60,000 to pave it.
The whole transfer station?
Because you'll end up with, after this year's, if that passes, you'll end up with $58,000 in that ETF. And I would say if we're taking on this big of a paving job this year with everything else, if we can fit it in while we're doing all that, we'll get a better deal.
We can do it this year.
Yeah.
Using,
what's in the ETF plus what we funded with.
I'm not against that, but Josh has got to get us a price on that. I just,
It's not gonna be cheap, but
Where does your backhoe come out of? Is that the number 10, highway heavy equipment? Are you keeping the DPW backhoe?
so far we're keeping it.
Okay.
never giving it back.
It works fine.
So is the DPW gonna need to replace it, theirs?
I don't know what they're gonna do. What have they done with that old one?
It could have been, we got the authority to
Sell it?
sell it, but I don't know what's going on with it.
You know, it's not worth putting any money into it, I'll tell you that one right now. I think spend more time down than up.
And what's our process for selling that? We putting it out to bid?
I don't remember what we talked about.
I'd like everything to go out to bid. I was just,
I think that was the plan. It might have been on that municipal website.
Municipal.
Municipal.
okay.
Find out from Josh what he wants to do with that backhoe, for sure. And a paving number, get,
Get an estimate on paving the transfer station, yeah. All right, anything else as far as warrant articles go?
Just saying out loud that I did get an email today that I added number 26. The way station is gonna be asking for potentially asking for $2,500, but like I said, they haven't gotten anything.
Okay.
So I added that number into it.
So, the budget right now, change over last year, not counting the cuts we just took, 108 over last year.
Oh, the operating budget?
Yeah,
Yep.
so 108, but we just took out 1,000 here, 1,000 there kind of thing.
About 15,000.
So, the department with the largest increase is DPW administration, not even the equipment or anything like that. DPW administration, $60,000 of that 108.
Yep. I think you'll find what that is getting our employees back up to where we should be to keep this place rolling. And without cutting staff, you're not gonna cut that number.
So the increase is the position that was added in the fall. Does that sound about right?
Possibly.
This is also why I want to make sure that if there are open positions, they're included in the budget.
Yeah.
That way we're not
Right.
adding $56,000 to a budget.
Well, yeah.
Hmm?
Regardless, we needed to fill the position in order to staff all of our trucks and that sort of thing. I don't think that that's the issue. Anything else on the warrant articles we want to touch on?
well, let's see what those numbers play out at.
Joy, you good?
All set for now.
Right. 2024 encumbrances.
The number on your, agenda is different than what,
Then what's on the actual sheet? So, looks like we are going to want to encumber 8796 out of the general government building line for the flooring in the town hall. And then encumbrances for the fire department to the tune of $67,607.95 for the new defibrillator and the new pump for tank 1 part of which will be funded from ARPA and the rest will be encumbered.
Did Chief Brooks get us an estimate
Yeah, it should be in that pile, the last one in that pile.
of the encumbrances?
Yes, is the purchase requisition with Dingy to try to do the pump. Mike explained to me, you'll see the date on the estimate is the 22nd. But the guy from Dingy came today and actually looked at everything. And he said that that $48,000 estimate, it wouldn't be that high. He's not knowing when he wrote the estimate, how much it would be. So based on the amount that's left in ARPA and the encumbrance, it should come close to pretty much covering what it potentially will be.
And what was left in ARPA?
$16,499.
Yeah, so the explanation I got is he needed a written estimate to encumber the funds, so he gave him the highest estimate it could potentially be at. And then when he came today, he looked at the tanker and the pump and he said that there's no way he would need to replace all of the pipes and the fittings and that sort of thing. So the 48,000 is high compared to what it will actually cost.
All right, what's a closer figure?
My guess is the 39-ish thousand that we're looking to encumber, because he's encumbering 25,000 and using the leftover 16 of the ARPA funds. Is the thought process, but we don't have an exact figure.
So how are we gonna encumber it unless we have a hard number?
Well, we have the quote with that number, $48,000 on it, but verbally, the gentleman from Dingy said that's more than we would potentially need. The important thing is to decide something for the ARPA money, period. That's the important thing tonight. Granted, tonight's last night to encumbrances, but we lose the money that we don't do something.
Right.
He's kind of went in a different order. Probably should have put him on the agenda in a different order, because they got ARPA stuff coming up.
Well,
So explain to me, once again, how encumbrances work, and I know you've explained it before, and I apologize to make you repeat yourself. So we have unexpended money in the town, in the general government building town projects. So it's unexpended, and we're basically saying, since we have that left over now, we have this left over, we know that we want to do the flooring, but it's just not going to happen until the next budget year. So we're saying, we know we need this amount, so we're just slating what we had set aside, what we had left over this year for this exact estimate or amount.
Right, and well, yes and no.
Okay.
That is the quote. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's gonna be.
Okay.
If we did this next November, it may be more than that. But that's the amount of money that we can use towards it for an
Okay.
encumbrance. And it's not so much just to use the money. We've been talking about doing this for
Couple of years.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's something that, yeah, we've basically committed to do this year, but we won't be able to pay for it till next year, is essentially it.
I'm on board with the encumbrances, all three of them.
So the fire department right now has $52,000 remaining to spend before the end of the year. And they need the defibrillator, I can't say it, defibrillator for about $43,000. And that leaves about $10,000 left over to put towards the pump tank which would be 16,000 from ARPA.
Wish we had a hard number on the pump without all the extra work.
Because we still, I mean, we almost hit that 52,000 just with the defibrillator.
And it is a bottom line budget, you can encumber more than what's necessarily in a line.
Even when it's those 3 separate articles, like public safety being separate from,
I've got we've got a ruling that said that when it comes to overspending the budget, it's all 3 of them together.
okay.
So,
I swear, I have to like write that down and tattoo it on the back of my hand because it always comes up. But that would mean so we have, if we encumber the 42.5, that leaves about 10,000 left for a theoretically 30, even if we go with the, lower that estimate to closer to what they were thinking, 39,000. 16 to come from ARPA, so we're down to 23, if I'm doing my math. 23,000, 10,000 in the budget, so it's still $13,000 that we don't.
That he doesn't have in that line, but we have it in the bottom line. Got 199,000 in the bottom line.
So this defibrillator setup, hey, the more I say, the better I get. This can go in any of the trucks and any of the vehicles, because I know sometimes they have to be, the truck has to be equipped for certain setups like this. So is this transferable between equipment, or does this have to be, would this be dedicated to a particular vehicle?
That I don't know.
I don't know that.
I'm fine with encumbering for the floor, for the defibrillator, and tying into the next conversation about the ARPA funds for the pump tank. But I don't wish to steal from the general bottom line for it.
The total number is 76,400 and change, roughly. Is that correct?
Yep.
We overspend lines on a regular basis. There's 3 right there. But yet, that bottom line is correct. It's falling right into place. And all of these this board is responsible for that number. That number. We've got $199,759 left over out of a $3.4 million budget. What happens if we don't encumber that? We don't get it?
it just goes back into the unassigned fund balance.
Is there a time frame with this? And this is our last meeting, that's why we're going to
This
do
year,
it.
yeah, right, you have to encumber things before the end of the year.
Right.
Part of fixing that new pump was to use the ARPA funds on it.
And in order to use the ARPA funds on it, we have to encumber the rest of it, because ARPA's not gonna cover the whole thing.
But we still don't have an exact dollar amount. We know not 48, probably 39, but we don't even have that.
You could commit the ARPA funds to the defibrillator, and then you have a solid number that you're using money towards. I just don't wanna, we only have 2 quotes to use the ARPA money on tonight. Short of going back and having another meeting for you.
Well, yeah. Well,
I'm also good with that. Using the ARPA money towards a defibrillator and then encumbering the rest for the remainder of the defibrillator cost.
being at 6 one way, half a dozen the other. We have a hard number for ARPA, but I still want to encumber enough money to do the pump.
We don't know what that is. When did we find out that there was an issue?
At the last meeting, wasn't it?
With what?
That the pump required, or the pump tank required replacing?
Was it last meeting? I don't remember which meeting it
I
was.
think it was last meeting,
I think it was either the last, yeah.
because I wasn't here for the meeting before that, so. So the issue is we don't have a hard number, is that correct? Is that the issue?
Is that stopping us from encumbering?
You have a quote. It could go up to that amount.
So it's not to exceed $25,000, is that correct?
Not to exceed 48,000. Because the quote is for 48.
Regardless, if we encumber the full, say we encumber the full 48, and obviously we know it's not going to cost us that much, it still goes back into the,
Right.
we can encumber all of it, and it could go back when we don't spend it. That makes the paperwork jive. I think what we need to do is stop the encumbrances for a second, take a look at the ARPA funds, which is in old business, and decide whether or not we want to allocate the remainder of the ARPA funds to the defibrillator or not.
And how much do we have in ARPA funds?
$16,499.33.
And that's after the Wilcox and Barton invoice.
Both, yep, they're listed in your other stuff, but yep, we paid the 2 Wilcox and Barton and $5,000 for the food pantry, and that's what's left.
Yeah, the trouble with the ARP is that you do have to have a dollar amount. I mean, granted, we have a quote that's, we know isn't accurate at this point for the pump tank. But the defibrillator we know is accurate, and we have that. There wouldn't be any question, any issues with being able to use that money for the defibrillator because we have a hard number.
Yep.
I don't want to lose out on that 16,000 because we didn't have a solid number for the pump tank.
So, I will make a motion that we use the remainder of the $16,499.33 of the ARPA money for the fire department defibrillator system.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So. We need to encumber 26,107.67 to cover the rest of the defibrillator. And then I would also add that we put in the full, whatever that is, 48,225 for the pump.
Is there any kind of fire equipment ETF that would cover things like this?
Making-
No, but that's something that when Michael and I were talking about this today, he was saying that he encumber the $25,000 this year, or something similar to what you're saying, open an ETF next year for $25,000 to pay for it.
If we take the full 48,225 and put it in there, it makes the total encumbered number 83,128.67, which we still have. And then we know that it's gonna come in under that, and whatever doesn't get spent can go back. So, you're gonna want us to sign this after you redo it if we doctor it up.
Just make it pretty,
Okay.
But if you vote, you know, you
Sign
can
it
sign it
later.
later. You sign it.
All right,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Do you have to identify what you're encumbering the funds for?
Yes,
Did you just do that,
yes.
total?
I'm gonna lay it out here for you in just a
Oh,
second.
okay.
I'm gonna make a motion.
So you're gonna encumber the remaining balance, 199,000?
No, not all of it.
Okay, I'll listen.
All right, so I am going to make a motion that we encumber $8,796 out of general government buildings for the flooring of the town hall. 26,107.67 for the remainder of the defibrillator, and 48,225 for the pump on tank 1, for a total encumbrance of 83,128.67.
83 what?
83,128.67.
I'd rather see anything above what the fire department has at the end of the year come out of a warrant article. And I want departments to be very specific to their, accountable to their numbers. You know, he's got, you know, once we take the 26,000 out, he's still got approximately 26,000 in there to encumber. But I don't like the idea of taking 50,000 from the bottom line elsewhere.
You're not gonna take it elsewhere, it's gonna show us an over expenditure in his line. So he's gonna be held accountable for it regardless what day.
Yeah, but no, but when you don't show the encumbrances in the bottom line.
Right,
at the end of
okay.
the thing, I'm just saying that a lot, so it's not gonna, like, be in there saying.
Yeah.
You know. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
You're fine. No. Well. Made a motion, doesn't sound like we're gonna get a second.
You got a motion on the floor?
The motion to encumber that 83,128.67.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nope. Against.
All right.
I think we should be doing the moving money around at the end of the year. Never if possible.
All right. Let's get that. Rail trail tap outs.
So I've been going to those meetings.
Yep.
And at the last one that we had, just last Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago, it was the last of the 3 meetings that were statutorily required to have because of that new RSA that they put in to make sure that something gets done with this section of rail. There's money available through grants to be able to take care of the improvements and things to make it into more like a recreational trail all the way through. The original date of the deadline to apply for those was the 6th of December, but somehow they got it extended for the towns of Madison and Ospey for us to they extended it to the 20th, which was last Friday. So I put in an application, kind of just let you guys know what I was doing. So I put the application in, so we made it in under the wire. There's no commitment to anything that we have to do, but if there is funds available, it would be on an 80-20 plan for the grant.
Okay.
There's really no numbers yet. They don't even know, I'm really in Madison, we don't even know what we want to do
Right.
with that section of rail. There's still a lot of hurdles to get over in this whole thing.
We just have the trail go over the dam.
Yeah,
Use the
and then
grant
we'll fix
money
it.
to do the trail over a dam.
So,
That's thinking outside the box.
Let me ask a question. I read this today for the first time. This Conway Branch Planning Group, of which we are a part of,
yes.
how do they fit with TAP, Transportation Alternative Program? Seems like it's one package. The question I have is, they're looking for money from private donations, grants, and/or sale of existing steel rails. Okay. And they want to promote the feasibility of snowmobile, walking, biking, and such things to do. And then you come over here to the TAP portion, and it says the funds on off-road trail facilities, pedestrians, bicycles, and other users of non-motorized forms. Well, snowmobile is a motorized form. So it seems like that cover letter are at odds. And it also calls a little later on in that from DOT, the funds are going to be 80% federal and 20% local match. So there is going to be local funds of it. Well, there will be. They will ask for, according to this, they're going to ask for local money. Are snowmobile people there? By the way, I'm not a snowmobile, in case anybody wants to know. Were there any snowmobilers at this organization?
No, I can't think of any snowmobilers, but it was definitely spoken about because Mr. Underwood owns,
A piece of the track.
right, I don't know if he owns it or he has rights to it, I'm not sure which way that actually, the wording goes on that, but he can, and he decided that after years of asking them to do something, to be able to, use this economically as a way to make money and promote tourism and, get it in use, they kept shooting him down and shooting him down. This year, he put his foot down and said, well, fine then, the snowmobiles can't use this, nobody can use this, and he closed it for this coming winter, was the way that I understood. Which got everybody kind of like, hey, we really need to do something. So that's why a lot of this is moving forward so quickly now. I want to say, I think Mr. Underwood is feeling more better about how this is all going to play out, that is actually getting the attention that it deserves. And I want to say that there was some consideration about allowing the snowmobiles again through there, but I'm not sure where it got left off.
Well, the snowmobile fencing is up
Up to prevent it or up to help it?
to help it.
Oh, okay, so they may have that. I mean, I don't think Mr. Underwood was trying to.
I think you're trying to make a point.
Right, exactly. They've, pulled him around for 5 years and he finally wanted to do something. So once this RSA became, we had to do something. I don't know how much of this is really what they're talking about. They don't really come out this direction because there's so many breaks in it after you get, you got to cross 41, you got to cross 113 in terms of walking and all that kind of stuff. At the other section of it that's over in Ospey, they have a really nice span that's not crossing anything major. So there's just so much to do to get this to go. I mean, the kind of equipment that you need to lift rails up, it's really specialized and it's a big deal.
Does this,
This just got our foot in the door so that we didn't miss out on the opportunity.
should we desire, right? Does this group have any more meetings set?
Not that I know of, no. We had to have them all. They're gonna put together, at this point, they're putting together a report of what came out of those 3 meetings.
Yeah.
And the big players that are listed in the RSA are the ones who will be reviewing that and deciding to send it forward.
There's nothing for us to do right at the moment.
Not really, just keep you in the loop as to what's happening. And that we didn't lose the opportunity, but we're not committed to do anything.
Right.
either.
So right now, it's gonna end, technically, right now, it ends at 113. It's not gonna go, I mean, snowmobile's gonna run the length of
Right. Well, that's the thing.
Okay.
This goes all the way, actually goes to Conway, goes all the way from Ospey to Conway, goes over Boulder Road, all that area too.
it, yeah.
But it's entirely up to somebody to decide what's gonna happen to it all.
Yeah. Because I remember the issue regarding the Silver Lake General Store a number of years back. When we were fighting who had water frontage. Whether the store had water frontage, whether it was, and the rail tracks went very close to that building. And we spent some $50,000 fighting that. And then the state stepped in and said, we'll tell you what, we're gonna give you $50,000 and we're gonna take control of it. And they took control of all the tracks, and we just washed our hands to it. Took out 50 grand and went away. That was probably 15 years, maybe more than 15 years ago. So, they may have to deal with those condos. Somebody might be sitting on somebody else's property, but that's not gonna be our issue. Anyhow,
All right. Well, wait and see what happens, I suppose. All right, we have the CIP on here as a discussion item, but there's no CIP in the binder.
The only updates we got, thank you, Chief, were from the police department.
Okay.
So it was mileage, so we didn't get any feedback from any other department heads.
Okay.
So if you guys would like to make a second request to the department heads to review it and fill in their data so that we can use it to decide on the warrant articles and the budget for next year.
Yeah.
And for the next 20.
Sounds good. All right. Whole business. Personnel policy update.
I just, made the update. If you guys wanna sign that, I just wanted to say out loud that you saw it.
It's just an update to the dental insurance policy so that employees can pay their 7%.
And I didn't put the number of 7% in because the insurance part, it was just written as cost sharing.
Yep.
Right, so that we can
Reflected
adjust
by
it,
the minutes of the selectmen's meeting would say what that is.
adjust it as necessary. If we're all good, do you need a motion on that?
I think you made your motion last.
Right.
Yeah, so I just
Slide it into the signature
got it.
items?
Yep, I can do that.
we're all good.
We already talked about ARPA.
Except, could we make just a motion? I know that you said at the last meeting that you'd pay the Wilcox and Barton ones, but do you mind making a motion to pay that $5,934.70 just to
Yep.
cover my butt when I have to report?
I will make a motion that we pay Wilcox and Martin invoice for $5,934.70 out of the remaining ARPA funds.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep. Joy?
Where were all my things? Were you gonna speak to the school board meeting?
I can when we get to me.
Okay. I did request a company laptop, so to speak, because I'm doing a lot of because of the CIP spreadsheets and things like that. So I did request a town laptop so that I can have that dedicated for the work I'm do for the town. So,
And we have one, I take it?
What's that?
We have one?
No, we have to buy one.
Okay, fine.
so just base, but with Microsoft products, because that's what you need to do with spreadsheets like that. See, I drafted a letter, I don't know if you guys want to review it for approval, just to the homeowners who we weren't able to get a hold of for testing, just saying from the town, very basic generic saying we are doing a site investigation to identify result of the well, go see the town website for the report. Wilcox and Barton, we've engaged Wilcox and Barton to reach out to you. They've tried to reach out to you and failed, so we're just requesting that
Okay.
they can connect with you, just so that they know it's not just Wilcox and Barton showing up on their doorsteps, that it's coming from us.
I assume that the, Barton, when their employees show up, they got name tags on or some kind of identification.
I'm sure,
I hope so.
yeah.
Because sometimes you see people, Fidian was famous for that.
I'll double check though, it's worth checking.
I wonder when they come to the town to do anything, they always have
Some
their
kind
yellow
of a-
things on and a tag, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that letter with you?
I can send it,
Send it to me.
yep.
Thank you. Or send it to Linda, have Linda send it to me.
Yep, yep. I think that's all I have. Quick, go before I change my mind.
John?
Finishing up the season at the transfer station, the year is just about done. We're slightly ahead of last year. We haven't got the final numbers in, we are ahead of last year. People have been very nice this week, which they're nice all the time. We're gonna bring in roughly $71,000 in fees collected. And we're working one person shy. So it's just two of us down there now, instead of three.
Which does beg the question, are you hiring? Are you guys?
I don't do
going
hiring.
with the two?
I don't do hiring. It's not my job.
Are we going with the two of you, or do you
We're
have
gonna
another?
try to do for a while.
Okay.
It's a little more difficult with catching up to people, but we'll do what we can do.
Okay.
Is that it?
I said I'm done.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Could you
That's
keep that
okay.
going?
All right. I don't know how to run this new thing anymore. I have notes in here somewhere from the school board meeting. Regardless, I think I have it all in my brain. We met, I know, John, you weren't able to attend, but the school board meeting wasn't anything crazy. They want to talk with us about paving. They're looking at paving their parking lot, and we have a large paving operation going on this year, so hopefully we can tie some of that in and save some money. They are in the near future looking into a new generator, so they will need to touch base with Bob about setbacks and that sort of thing, and where they could put it on this side of the school. And then the other thing was just making sure that points of contact are still the same for snow removal and that sort of thing.
They did bring up trash.
Trash, that's what it was. That's why I was looking for my notes, Joy. Thanks. They were curious, and I wanted to touch base with you and Dave about the possibility of putting a container over there as saving them some money going, because right now I think they have waste management. If they were to purchase a container,
But it's the type of container is the issue.
okay,
Our truck is not capable of handling a small container.
right.
We handle 40-yard containers.
So if they were gonna.
There's no way to, maybe Dave could say, there's no way to pick it up.
Right,
They could buy a small, something bigger than they have. They don't, they just put all the trash in one container.
wow, they have a cardboard container and a trash container.
Let me look into it. We might be able to find a container, but it's gonna be bigger than what they have, smaller than what we have.
Yeah,
And it might be able to get loaded onto that truck. Yeah, boy, as far as savings, I don't see it. Because he's gonna have to haul that container
by itself.
all by itself, all the way to Berlin or all the way to Portland, depending what's on it. Yes.
Yeah. I thought the town contracted for their trash removal.
What town? This town?
Town hall.
I mean, we have a dumpster up there from North County Incinerator, but right now.
Yeah, but who,
No,
DPW doesn't take care of town hall's trash?
No,
How come?
because we have no way to move it. We have to move the container.
We would have to put a 40-yard container out here to put trash in order to haul it. Right now, we have a 20-yard.
I mean, how much trash can this place accumulate?
It's not the trash, we can handle that. It's moving the container to Portland or to Berlin.
Mhm.
And that's gonna cost a lot of money to move a small amount of trash. That truck's gonna burn just as much fuel.
How much does
Oh,
how much does town hall spend annually in
That was my
either
question.
janitorial or trash removal or all of that?
I don't know.
We pay per month. I wanna say it's like $200, just recently went up. It's like $200 for that container.
So 25.
We use North Conway Incinerator.
Yes.
So it's like 2,500 a year.
Yeah, that's
Ish.
probably a good amount, a good estimate.
Is there any way of saving of having, like, so do we have a custodial service come in and take out the trash?
The housekeepers.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Is
And they
it,
put the trash in our
In the dumpster, yes.
dumpster.
does it make sense to still pay $2,500 a year or to have someone transport it to Madison Transfer Station rather than having our own separate?
Where are you going to put it while it waits to get transported?
Yeah. If it happens on a Friday morning, dump's open. What,
I mean,
when
I
do they
don't
tend to
know how
come?
much they use, that's,
Yeah.
we knew how much rubbish there was.
When do they come, weekly or bi-weekly? or-
Don't,
Most mountains bi-weekly, right?
oh, the housekeepers?
Yeah.
Come weekly, yes.
Is it weekly? Weekly.
On a weekend or?
Yeah, over the weekend,
Over the
usually
weekend?
sometime, they don't, I don't know if they have a set time, just come in on Monday and they've done anything, sneak in the covered darkness.
Usually whenever I want to pop in, they're here. That's so, for some reason, they're always here when I stop by.
Oh. So I don't know if it's, give them a dump sticker and have them bring it over, but save $2,500 a year.
I think we have to compensate them extra for, we're gonna have them take them.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, certainly we can handle it if they find a way to move it. We just don't have a way to move it.
Yeah.
Trucks handle big containers. I mean, I take some rubbish from Idleways. The stuff they pick up on the side of the roads throughout Idleways comes to us. And I don't charge them. I mean, it's another municipality, and they're doing a good job by cleaning up on the side of the road, and they come every other week with front end loader full that they pick up on the side of the road, yeah, the side of their roads.
Yeah.
Do you want to just touch base with Dave and see what kind of container we need to put over there, and if it would be worth it?
Yeah,
At the school, I
At the school, yeah.
so they have two containers, one for rubbish and one for cardboard.
Yeah, that's what they have right now.
So maybe whoever you use just brings it to the school instead of the dump. We don't have a dumpster here.
I can look into see if we can make a,
Is there one of the ball fields in the summertime? We don't have it. do we?
Dumpster?
Yeah.
No. No, we haul it, we keep a trash can in the shed, and then when we're done, we haul it up to this one up here. But there's no trash container over there for people
Yeah, 'cause you
outside of
end up
Madison
having,
Rec.
yeah, you'd have all kinds of stuff there.
Yep.
I'll look into a plan B for the dumpster.
Okay. We touch base with Dave.
I'll touch
See
base
what-
with Dave. There'll be a cost for the dumpster.
Right. At least we can give
You
them-
own them at that point.
Let them know what it would cost for the container, or what the container would need to be, and let them decide whether or not
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Who would pay for the tipping fees?
If they can get it to the transfer station somehow, we could handle it for them. It'd have a minimal impact on what we take in. We take in, just in solid waste, we take in 20 tons a week. So they can't produce it half ton a week. I can't even imagine them doing that much. And if they could find a way to move it,
To get it to the transfer station as opposed to having it
yeah, I
dumpster.
mean, they could.
They're daily though.
BFI has those big plastic containers, the ones that they pick up with a truck.
Yeah.
They get cleaned
But
daily
it would take their janitorial staff to do it, and we would certainly help them out. We're not gonna charge them.
Right, but they clean daily, so they would need some place to put their daily trash.
Well, yeah, if they had a container that they could move, something they could put on a truck, on a pickup truck. I can't imagine they have that much rubbish. I mean, they probably have garbage from the cafeteria.
Yep. Because they're feeding 100+ people every
Let me
day.
talk to Dave and see what kind of ideas he's got.
Okay.
See if it's feasible.
Oh, and in terms of the paving, should we have Jim Curran contact Josh with their paving needs so that it can be looked at, bundled with whatever paving projects are coming up?
That's
with
gonna be your best
725?
bet, because Josh will do all the scheduling.
Yeah.
Are they doing just the back parking lot?
I'm not sure exactly what they're
Because they
doing.
paved that front loop
Not that long ago.
not that long ago.
Yeah, I think it may just be the back parking lot and then that, I don't know,
Probably that hill.
the hill that comes down to the side door. So I think that's where it broke. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I remember them paving. I was like, oh, what are they doing?
That's it for me. Linda?
A couple of things. At the ABC meeting, there was a question about how to interpret the RSA for electronic participation.
Yes.
And I double checked myself, and you do have to physically have a quorum here at all times.
Got it.
That's how that works.
That makes sense.
So that doesn't, so that, I can straighten that out.
Thank you.
Do you know if we'll be getting a check from Butler for that money?
I just got an email from Emo a few days ago, and they said they can't cut a check. Could we please cut them a check for just the $500 as opposed to them writing us a check for, like us writing them a check for 15 and them cutting us back 900. They're asking that we just do 500 of the remaining outstanding balance.
We still owe them money?
He seemed to think so.
Oh, I wasn't aware. I thought we paid them everything and they were gonna give us back $975.
Okay.
I don't think we have any outstanding invoices with them.
I don't believe so. We did not pay anything
Okay.
that my office got. We paid everything we received.
All right. I'll go back and check.
Well, it's kind of, yeah.
If I can pull up my phone, I can see what he said very specifically.
Yeah, no, I didn't know we still owed any money.
He said they are not able to write a check for funds they have not received. I would like to get this resolved, so it would be possible to write a check for the remaining balance of $562.50.
Well,
I don't know what he means by check for money they haven't received, because we paid them a lot. So, all right,
As far as I know, we've paid every invoice that we've received.
yep. All right, I'll go through and do another reconciliation.
And we've paid $5,099.
so we've definitely paid all of our invoices.
All
all the invoices we've received. We weren't holding anything back.
No, and there shouldn't be any more than that.
Alright.
That was what led us to question it to begin with, was being at $5,000 instead of the contracted price.
So, my understanding after talking with Emo is that he was going to send me copies of Tim Eldridge invoices because his understanding was Tim said, here's what I charge them. And Emo said, okay, sure, we'll charge them the same. But Emo's invoices or Butler's invoices were coming out like twice. So I feel like Tim would, I don't know, I feel like maybe Emo was charging back and forth
And
in
Tim
a
was
sort of way.
charging
And
for
Tim
the
was
day.
charging, yeah. Because they are almost exactly twice as much. So he was gonna send me kind of what he was basing his pricing off, because he said it was based off what Tim Eldridge told him. But obviously, we were charged way more than Tim Eldridge ever charged us, so. He did knock off almost $1,000 if we could figure out.
On the other half
It
of
is.
that, you might have been just about to say it too, is we need to reconcile the square fees before the 31st of this year.
I sent it to Jordan earlier today.
Are we gonna get the detail that says who actually,
Heather was working on that. She was
Okay.
working on that as of 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard from her.
So
Because
what did you send to Jordan?
I sent Jordan the exact amounts that were to go into the RTF. The deposits for every single day, there was a deposit from Square into the town of Madison accounts. The totals for each day, how much was to go in the RTF and how much was to go in the general fund.
Okay, so.
So she has that for the entire year.
did the Square
Today.
reports that come out of it, did they say who paid what?
There are yes. That information is available, yes. And I used that when Heather would contact me before every Field Trip Friday. She would contact me and say, okay, who paid by Square? And I was able to send her who paid by Square. So she knew before the bus even left the building who had paid.
So we need to get, Heather needs to get you the list of names and who paid.
What can I do to help?
Get in touch with Heather. and
Book
help
some time with Heather and get you what you need?
Well, we've been waiting since August.
Okay.
And Jordan and I are 100% done till Friday with everything with the exception of Rick.
Okay.
We sat down for 3.5 hours on Friday and finished everything.
That sounds like fun.
So it was satisfying.
Yes. All right, so I want to make sure I know exactly what you need and how to get it to you.
Well, the reason I say is anything else in the town, we know how much we were supposed to collect from who, whether it's a car registration or a building permit or whatever it is.
Yep.
And I feel like that information is not there for me to feel confident to say to the auditors, look, we were supposed to take in $150 and here's who paid $5 each and we got $150. And I don't feel like I have that to show them.
Okay.
Great, we took in $16,000 or whatever it was, but were we supposed to take in $17,000 is what I guess I need to feel like I can say to the auditors and say, look, this is, and I just don't feel like that right now.
Yeah. No,
That
that's
I'd
fine.
stand behind those numbers because
Yeah.
I don't have anything to stand
Yeah,
behind.
because that's just a matter of reconciling the registration sheets versus, because when you and Kate accept the checks or the cash, you guys do a photocopy of like the checks.
Exactly.
And people who pay by cash, how does that work?
We gave them a receipt, we made a copy of the receipt, we
Receipt.
tucked that with the cash.
Okay.
And we gave in the beginning, we were making the deposits, but we felt that this really wasn't our place, so we taught Heather how to make her own deposits, so she could do it the way that, so she saw everything come in and all that, and so she's been doing her own deposits now for months.
Directly to the bank?
To the town clerk, well, to the treasurer. She's been making a deposit slip, coming in, getting a bag, putting it in the bag, giving it to the clerk's office to give it to the treasurer to make the deposit.
And how much money are we dealing with a year?
Altogether?
Yeah. For the rec.
I don't know.
The Square has taken in around 17,000 electronically, so people paying online is 17,000. And then I don't know how many paid cash or check.
I would imagine
There's
there's,
something to be said for cash. I don't have any of those problems. I take money
All right.
or
So,
checks.
yeah, if you could help Heather sort that out before the end of the year, that would be fantastic.
All right, she had scheduled some time with me to kind of reconcile the square with what she was doing, and then she canceled, so I was hopeful everything was going great. So I'll get back with her.
Oh, good. You're the only one here.
All good?
All good?
Report.
I love that.
Love seeing the increased presence around Madison Corner. A lot of craziness going around there, and it's so nice to see, you know, your folks in action. Because, yes.
It's harder this time of year when there's snow on the side of the road. You can't be in your normal spots, but
One thing actually I'd mentioned to Officer Llewellyn was 4 times driving into Conway, car in front of us, breaking Jessica's law, with
Oh,
snow
okay.
coming off, and actually hitting my car 3
Oh.
times. And the 4th time it didn't hit, well, I gave them a very, very wide berth, but 4th time it didn't hit me because they were in the next lane over at that point. But that didn't start until Conway.
it's
So,
the season.
We see a lot of that.
yeah.
And I kindly mention, especially if they're out-of-staters who don't have that law, which, you know, mass plates. And I just try to be, you know, I don't come off as a know-it-all, but I say, you know, you could get a ticket for that, and they will make you clean it off on the side of Route 95.
Yep.
Most of them say thank you.
Yeah.
Some just could kill us.
Some are always gonna.
But,
Yeah, no, Conway's pulling people over in front of the middle school too.
well,
They're pulling people over.
Conway's been cracking down on it pretty hard.
have they?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
pulled them over at Cumberland Farms across the middle school, making people clean off their cars.
Yeah.
But you're very much appreciated.
Oh, and thanks to Officer Llewellyn for making a public presence at the school the other day too.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the
Making
transfer
herself
station,
known. Appreciate it.
walking
I'm
around.
happy to do it. She's glad to be there, and she's,
I think that makes a big difference in the school when they see the kids can relate to a police officer.
yeah, we've talked to Janet Cox about trying to be present during some of the lunches.
Yep.
It's just a different, like, we don't do it here, coffee with a cop. Some
Yep.
towns do it, well, in the school, we
Not yet.
eat lunch with them, and the problem is they just want to talk and they don't end up eating, so. In my
Yeah.
experience.
And I was in the office at the school when she popped in just to, you know, wish everyone a happy holidays and all that too.
Good, yeah,
Yep,
she's
so
great.
she is, she absolutely is. You have a great crew. All 3 of you.
All right, signature items.
You already approved the
Thank you.
DOE payment, but
Thank you, stay warm.
you have the money.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for 2025. Chad approved it.
You know, next time ask if the department heads can go first.
I'm here anyway.
Get to that in a second. I don't screw you up by putting it out of order today.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Today's the 23rd, right?
It is.
That one's all set.
That's all set.
And those are just for the things that we encumbered.
Yep.
For free purchase requisition.
These are gonna have to change though, right? Because we're not encumbering all of that, we're encumbering new total.
Yes, but we still reference it as the whole,
Okay.
the whole thing, you know what I mean? That's the purpose of the
Okay.
requisition covered it,
Yeah.
but I don't think we wrote, did we write on there while we were paying for it?
Nope. So it doesn't really matter.
Did we have to sign the top of this one too?
Oh, yes, please. Sorry.
What's that?
Sorry.
Oh,
We all have to sign that, none of us did.
Okay, we got that one.
That's, she just joined the sign.
Okay.
All right, so this one, that one we're not really doing.
What is it?
It says encumbering 25 for the pump exhaust committed ARPA funds first, so like none of this is accurate at this point, right?
So we didn't come, yeah.
Because we're not encumbering 25,000, we're not exhausting the ARPA funds to do it,
I
right?
don't know how it's written, I didn't put that one.
Yeah, this one has a note in here that says to exhaust the ARPA funds.
Does it say $25,000 instead of 48, or whatever?
Yeah.
What if we correct it and sign it out of session?
Or can we correct it and initial it?
Yeah. So we'll cross this off. And initial that's been crossed off.
And the total's gonna be, whenever you're ready, 48,225.
I just made corrections and initialed everywhere I corrected.
If you want to, yeah, I suppose I could get it corrected and sign this again anyway. Put them
So
all
that's,
together again.
and that's just the encumbrance, right?
Yeah. So you're
Which is
gonna
separate than the purchase order.
correct that, so I'll make a motion that we sign that encumbrance sheet out of session.
On a technicality, since I voted against one of the encumbrances, do I still sign that as is, Linda?
That's up to you, two signatures will do it.
Can I get
Okay.
a second to sign this out of session?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
When do you need that signature?
You voted on it, I have it officially that you did
Okay.
it, this is just the backup paperwork, so I'm not worried.
The last signature item here is an oath of office for Ronald Forrest to join the advisory budget committee as an alternate member. I'm a no.
Huh?
I'm a no. But it doesn't take all three signatures to do it. And he left the advisory budget committee for whatever reason after undermining the advisory budget committee last time, and I don't agree with it, but nothing against him personally, I just don't think that it was a good fit.
We didn't run public tonight?
We do.
Did we already sign the yield tax stuff, or did that only Adam sign?
That's just a copy.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the thing that had the two, when you sent it back through because it needed another signature, that was the same thing.
got it.
It was 4 sheets because it was one-sided. What's in there?
All right. I'm gonna make a motion that we enter non-public session per RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, little a, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has the right to a meeting, and 2, requests that meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. Do I have a second?
Second,
Roll call.
John, I.
Joy, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you, Rachel.
Good job, everybody.